What's up, everyone? We're back. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. We haven't done this in about 2 weeks, which is kind of strange. I feel like I'm new to all this again. We had the week off. Excuse me. I got allergies. This cough is going to be lingering for this show, so just bear with it. Had the week off, obviously, after the Jan versus Figueiredo fight. We move over to UFC 310, which is going to be a very good card. From top to bottom, I got to give it an A. I mean, I really do. I got to give it an A. Early prelims. I'm going to have this fucking coughing attack now. Watch. Early prelims, really good. Prelims, really good. Main card, really good. We're going to get into all that. I'll actually be there for this fight. I am going to Vegas on Thursday. So my agenda is as follows. If anybody is in Las Vegas at that time, Thursday, I have VIP seats to the Sphere to see the Black Crows. So that's going to be fun. Then on Friday, me and my buddy Jeff are going to the NFR Championships, which I've never been to before. He actually told me about them. It's at the Thomas & Mack Center. It's like all the bull riding and shit. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of people wearing their cowboy boots and stuff like that. That'll be fun. And then Saturday, me and Jeff are going to the UFC 310 in VIP seats. So packed weekend. Then Sunday, we have like VIP seats to watch the NFL games. So it's going to be a great weekend. Expensive weekend. I'm sure me and him are going to be hitting the casinos and doing stuff like that, but it should be super, super fun. I'm super excited about it. I'm going to try to get through this. The more I talk, the more I get this lingering cough, so we're going to try to do it. The main event, interesting. I know a lot of people are looking at this fight like, why is it happening, right? Why is Asakura coming over from Ryzen, debuting fighter, fighting the champion Pantoja, kind of just walking in? Well, a few reasons for that. Obviously, Pantoja's initial opponent backed out, and Asakura is a guy that they've been looking at for a while. He's not your typical debuting fighter. This is a guy who two-time champion in Ryzen, runner-up for the what is it called for one of their tournaments. So this is a guy who's got a lot of experience. The reason why this is bad for the UFC is from a business perspective. They pride themselves. No one's going to tell you this. Everyone's talking about punches and kicks. Nobody's talking about the actual business. That's why if you guys want to get all these ins and outs and you want to get all this content as far as real life reality of how this business works, and not just I saw this guy fight fighter A and he looked good and this guy fought fighter B and he looked bad. We jump so much deeper than anybody else in this industry. I mean, levels and layers deeper than anybody. And it's because we understand it. We know it. We've been there. We have had our boots on the ground with it. And this, from a business perspective, is very dangerous because this is the company that thrives on we are the gold standard. Nobody can compare to us. Doesn't matter where you come from. Ryzen, Bellator. The UFC has turned down numerous tournaments with companies like Bellator, with companies like Ryzen, when Ryzen has done it with Bellator. So this is a situation where you're getting a guy who is pretty well known if you watch MMA outside of the UFC. He's a pretty good fighter. 21-4, 14 knockouts. So this is a guy who is seasoned. Former champion and stuff like that. So he's coming over now. He has the opportunity to walk right into the UFC, go right through the doors without a fight the champion, fight the very best in the division of the UFC and beat him. What does that say about the brand of the UFC at that point? Now the questions start looming. Can guys over in Ryzen, can guys in these other companies really come over and just walk in and compete with these guys? So this is either a very strategic chess move on the UFC's part, or it's a dangerous one. Don't think they haven't talked about it. Don't think they haven't talked about the repercussions of a guy like this coming in right out of the gate, fighting for a title and beating their champion. Like these were discussions that did happen. You know what I mean? So this does have some danger to it. The problem with Asakura, is that, is he a good striker? Yes. Is he seasoned? Yes. But when you put all the things together, forget about the film, forget about what he does good, what he does bad. You got to line everything up and say, what is this kid up against? Well, first of all, he's coming in from Ryzen. This kid's never fought in a cage before. That's one thing. Okay, so that's a big adjustment right there. The real estate is different. You know, when he's on his back foot and stuff, everything kind of changes. All your depth perception changes because you're not fighting in an octagon at this point. You know, in your normal ring, you're fighting in an actual cage, an octagon. So that throws you off. That's going to throw him off. That's going to take time for him to adjust a little bit. Then he's coming over, you know, as a debuting fighter. All the spotlight, all the media attention, all the hype, everything around him in Las Vegas, 5-round fight, championship fight, taking on Alexandre Pantoja, who's the top of the heap of the division, the travel time, the weight cut. This is a big kid, so this is something that you got to see, like, how is his weight going to be? There's just so many things that this kid has to overcome in order to come into the cage that night and win this fight. It's not just coming in and, well, he looks good on film, and you know, there are certain things that he can do that can win this fight, which there are, and we're going to discuss them. But the other obstacles involved in this fight are just so great that these little ticks and these little checkboxes, they all add up, and it puts him in a little bit of a deficit. Now, from a film perspective on his end, what does he do good? He's a very good striker. He's got good pop in his hands. The one thing I will tell you about him is he will throw caution to the wind. And he is very chaotic. This guy will drop his hands. He will just throw leather, and he will leave his chin on the shelf for it to be served. I've seen it numerous times. This guy got clipped numerous times. You know, so that's dangerous when you're fighting a guy like Pantoja, who we call him the cannibal. This is a guy who comes in, he throws caution to the wind. He's like the Roberto Duran of MMA. You know, he starts off clean, and then when you think he's tired, he's really not tired. I mean, fatigue does set in with Pantoja because he puts such a high pace on, but he just decides now it's time for a street fight. Now we're just forget about everything. We're gonna fight now. And he starts looping shots and he starts, you know, going for broke. And it looks like his technique is kind of waning, but it's not. It's just him kind of throwing everything away and saying, look, let's just fight now. So, you know, that can play into the hands of Pantoja, but it can also play in the hands of Asakura, because if Asakura does catch him on the chin late, or Pantoja can't get this fight to the ground for whatever reason, because he does have good takedown defense, we could see an interesting fight here. Like, this kid is a good fighter. This kid is not like he's not worthy to be in the UFC or anything like that. Is he worthy for this spot right now? No, but it has nothing to do with his talent. It has to do with he just hasn't earned his stripes in the UFC yet. You know, you're coming in. Can you imagine that? Can you imagine getting the phone call saying, hey, we're going to put you in a main event in Las Vegas, UFC 310, the last pay-per-view card of the year against Alexandre Pantoja for the title, and you've never fought a minute in the UFC. You know, I mean, think about who gets that opportunity? You know, so this is a golden opportunity for this kid. So does he deserve it from a resume level, UFC-wise? No. But he is good enough. The kid is good enough to compete. You know, so I'm expecting a decent fight, but the thing with Pantoja is he's such a dog. He's been there so many times before. You know, 5 rounds. You know, he gutted performances out all the way to the end where it looked like he was just completely dead, and he finds ways to win. And how does he find ways to win these little rounds, right? Like the minutes of the little rounds. It's not by throwing haymakers and throwing big shots. He has an uncanny ability to find your back. Like, that's just, he's probably, for my money, the best back taker in the UFC, pound for pound. And not when because there's guys that when they get there, they're elite as they come. Aljamain Sterling, we're not going to talk about him, but we'll talk about him in the article if you subscribe. Aljamain Sterling, when he gets your back, when he's there, good luck getting him off. Guy like Damian Maia, when he gets your back, good luck getting him off. You know, there's certain guys that will take Hani Yahya, like certain guys that will take your back, that once they get your back, forget about it. It's done. You're over with. You know, Chucky Olives, like all these guys. But to get your back, to get there, I'm saying Pantoja, for my money, is the best in the business. He just finds these ways to take your back like this. It's just human nature for him. So, you know, that's how he will win these little minutes and rounds where you can have a super, super close round. He secures a takedown, and within a split second, he's got your back maybe for 15, 20 seconds. The round ends, boom, advantage Pantoja. You know, so that's where he thrives. This is a guy who's not shy to tell you that he's going to look for takedowns. He's going to look to get on your hips. He's going to look to drag you down. And he's going to look to utilize his top control, his top pressure, and his wrestling. All these things just add up, like against a guy in Asakura who relies on his striking a lot more, where he's relying on space, he's relying on distance, he's relying on all these things where Pantoja's not going to give it to him. So do I think this has the potential to be a close fight? Yes. Do I think there's potential for an upset here too? Yes, because Pantoja has shown the ability to get sloppy at times. He has shown the ability to sometimes give the opposition what they want. He's not a clean fighter. Pantoja's never going to come into a fight and fight completely clean. He's got to find his way into a dogfight somehow. It's just the way he fights. He never takes the road of least resistance. He's got to take a path of some kind of rocky road and resistance. It's just the way he fights. So if he gives this kid that kind of path, then what's going to happen is this kid is going to have these little windows where he's going to have an opportunity to chin check Pantoja. Interesting fight. I just can't pick I can't pick against Pantoja here. I mean, anybody who's picking Asakura in this fight is really just, like I said, there's fights like this, you're throwing a dart. You're throwing a dart. You're hoping that this kid's going to be able to overcome all these things, overcome, the company, what we just talked about, the dictation there, overcoming the ring to the cage, the late notice, the coming in on debut to fight the champion in Las Vegas, the weight cut, which to me, honestly, is going to be an issue, I think. I mean, you got to watch the weigh-ins. This kid's a big kid. You know what I mean? So I got to go Pantoja. I'm going to go Pantoja. I think Pantoja is going to be the first guy to sub him. I think he's going to get a submission sometime late, so I'm going to go Alex Pantoja by decision. All right, next one, we got the co-main event, which is 18-0 versus 15-0. Somebody's O's got to go. We got Shavkat and Gary. This fight was supposed to be the headliner. It was supposed to be Shavkat and Bilal. Bilal ended up getting hurt. I got to be honest with you guys. I'm a person who, when I'm wrong about somebody or when I'm just off, I'll admit it. And I got to be honest with you. I got to give Bilal Muhammad a lot of credit. I know I give him a lot of garbage. I make fun of him all the time. I think he's a boring fighter, which I do. But for him to win the belt and right out of the gate agree to fight Shavkat, I gave him a ton of credit. Like you could call Bilal a lot of things, but you can't say that this guy ducks anybody. Is he a good fighter? Great fighter. I just don't like his style. I don't like that boring, drawling out style that he has. But when I saw that he actually signed this fight, I was like, wow, this dude he's really not going to avoid anybody. Circumstances have it, he had the issue with his foot where he had to pull out. And lo and behold, who steps in? Ian Gary. And I give him a lot of credit for stepping in. This is a kid who's 15-0 going against the kind of the boogeyman of the UFC right now without a blink. So I like to see this. I like to see these guys stepping up. Now, when I look at both of these guys, this is a lot closer of a fight than you guys are putting them out to be. Shavkat, for some reason, got this boogeyman complex from people where they think he's unbeatable, and I don't get it. Like, is he a good fighter? Yes. Is he like the man, the myth, the legend right now? Yes. But if you really watch that Neil fight, when he fought Neil, he showed that Neil humanized him. Like, Neil literally humanized him in that fight. He lost the fight, but Neil showed you that this guy does have holes. This guy can be beat, and it was very interesting to watch. I watched it a couple times, and there was a couple spots where I was like, wow, like this guy does have holes in his game. Like this guy can be humanized. And that just goes to show you, like, yes, some of these guys, they come in, they look fantastic, but it just takes a certain style. It takes a certain person. It takes a certain, skill set to kind of match you and kind of bring you into these quarters, and then you'll see who they really are. And listen, Shavkat won the fight. Cheers to him for that. I think the reason why it was so close is because he couldn't really get to fight to the ground. Jeff Neal is a beast when it comes to takedown defense. So stay on the feet with Jeff Neal for 15 minutes. Jeff Neal's going to make it close. Super durable, great chin, slick boxing. So Shavkat couldn't really get it to the ground, and he ended up beating Jeff Neal in Jeff Neal's wheelhouse. So that in itself was very impressive, but it does show you that if he can't get to the fight to the ground, you can make the fight interesting. Now we fast forward to a guy like Ian Gary, who his masterpieces are done on the feet. This is a guy who lives and dies for Conor McGregor for whatever reason. Kind of patterns his style, mirrored on him. Shavkat needs to get this fight to the ground. He doesn't get it to the ground, you're going to be looking at a situation like the Jeff Neal fight, minus the power, but more volume. And that's what's going to win you fights. If Ian Gary can stay on his bike, stick his jab out there, move around the cage, utilize all the real estate, make Shavkat kind of chase him and walk him down and make him be the the rabbit looking for the carrot, Ian Gary can win this fight if he could stay on the feet. Problem is, I don't know if Shavkat's going to allow it. I think that he's going to find ways to take Gary to the ground and ground this fight. I think Gary's takedown defense is going to hold up. I don't think he's going to be a fish out of water. I don't think that Shavkat's just going to take him down and it's going to be top control. There's going to be no resistance. I think Gary will get taken down. I think he will find his way back to his feet for the most part. But I just think that once Rakhmonov starts finding his path into his hips, I think that's where the fight's going to be won or lost. So I'm going to go Shavkat. But I'm telling you right now, if this fight stays on the feet, Gary can win this fight seamlessly. I mean, he can win 3 rounds in a row if this fight stays on the feet. It's not going to knock Shavkat out. This guy's got an iron chin, but he does it on volume. He does it on combinations to the body, to the head. And I don't know if Shavkat's going to be able to keep up with that. You could keep up with that against a guy like Neal, who's got very slick boxing, but he's more of a 1-2. He's not a guy who's going to throw these crazy punches and bunches. Jeff Neal's looking to land a big shot on you. He's looking to set you up with 2 piping jabs and maybe like an overhand right. Where Gary's looking to just tie music together. Body, head, body. So it'll be tough for Shavkat to deal. He's going to have to get this fight to the ground. So I see this being a very close fight, to be honest with you. I think if there is a finish, it's going to be Shavkat by submission, but I think it's going to the cards. I think this fight goes to the cards. I think it'll be like Shavkat 29-28. I wouldn't be shocked if I saw maybe a split decision, but I think this fight is going to lean towards Shavkat. All right. Before we get to the next fight, we are going to go to Mackenzie to get her lock pick of the week.
In a fight that is buried on the prelims, we have 2 guys that legitimize the ground game. Aljo has found a new home where cutting weight isn't much of an issue. But meeting him at the door is Evloev, who has a relentless wrestling style and a gas tank that can possibly cancel each other out once it hits the mat. This is a true 50-50 fight where there should be many changes. So if you are handing me over Aljo at plus rounds, you can book my ticket for Aljo at plus 3.5 rounds at minus 140, and I'll take it all day.
Mackenzie was off last week. And I think she was off the week before, too. Yeah, 2 weeks. Yeah, because she didn't have one for the Jan and Figueiredo fight because it was just a terrible fight. I mean, the whole card was terrible, and it was like at 2 o'clock in the morning. And last week we were off. So, yes, she was on a 2-week hiatus, and now she's back. All right, so now we get back to Gane versus Volkov. This fight happened once before. This was a rematch that we're going through right now. Look. You have Volkov in a 4-fight win streak. He wins this fight, makes it 5 fights. You got to start talking about him in title contention. I mean, you have to. I mean, any way, which way you look at it. You win 5 fights in a row against reputable competition, you got to start having those tough conversations, even though you wouldn't want to see it. I wouldn't want to see it. Dana White doesn't want to see it. But when you have a heavyweight division that's starting to regurgitate itself and they're having rematches and stuff, you got to talk about it. So the first fight, Cyril Gane won a 5-round decision. It was basically just the athletic ability. The interesting thing about this is Volkov, when you think about him, he's 6'8". He's got an 80-inch reach, right? So it's pretty, long. You expect him to come into all his fights with that attribute. Like, that's his attribute. Whenever we talk about Volkov, what do we talk about? We talk about, well, he's long, he's rangy. He could utilize his height. He could utilize his reach. Interestingly enough, Cyril Gane is about 3 inches shorter than him, but Cyril Gane has a 1-inch reach advantage here, which is very interesting. A lot of people aren't looking at that. But Ciryl Gane is going to have not that it's a big deal. You can pretty much call it even Steven, but he does have a 1-inch reach advantage on him, which is, I find, insane, which just goes to show you at 6'3", how long Ciryl Gane's reach is. He choked against John Jones. I mean, there's no other way around it. You could say whatever you want. This is a guy who they were looking at like to be the next, athlete, the next big thing in the heavyweight division. Super athletic, built like Anthony Joshua, worked around the cage really well, had grappling, had striking, had speed, had power. They were looking at him like, the heavyweight 2.0, like the new modern day heavyweight. He fights John Jones and he completely chokes. I mean, there's no other way around it. You can't talk about it any other way. You can't say he had a bad night. He choked. He literally choked. He went on his back foot. He got taken down. He got choked out, and he tapped before the choke was even in. I mean, the guy just completely choked. So now he bounces back. He wins a fight. And here he is now against Sergey Spivak, which is a good win. Sergey was doing well for a while, but at the end of the day, he's just a lumbering heavyweight. There's nothing special about Sergey Spivak. And here he is now fighting Volkov again, where Volkov now is on a 4-fight win streak, who has looked very good. We all know how good his striking is. You could put him on his back and hold him there. That's been a problem for him in the past. But he does have long limbs. Getting him there isn't easy. Like getting him to the ground when you have those long limbs isn't easy. Why? Because, when you go for a double leg or something, you get behind their ass and you clasp your hands. When a guy is taller, you got to come up higher. And to elevate that guy off the ground where his toes aren't scraping the ground, you really got to get a good elevation under him. And that's not easy to do with a guy like Volkov. The shorter they are, the easier it is for them to elevate. The taller they are, the longer their limbs. It's just more travel time that you need. So, that ultimately is an issue when people do fight him. And he does just such a really good job with his kicks, his diversity in strikes and stuff like that. He's ultimately very, very durable outside of him getting knocked out like the last second by Derek Lewis, which there's no shame in that. He's ultimately a really durable, just good, solid, well-rounded fighter. The issue is I just think Gane is just more athletic. Like, I don't think much is going to be different in this fight. I think it's going to be more the same, right? How much have these guys really evolved since then? Volkov is still the same guy. He's still a good striker, utilizes his weapons really well, utilizes his range really well, has decent takedown defense. If he gets taken to the ground, it's okay. I mean, he does enough to defend himself and stay safe. And then you got Ciryl Gane. What has he done any different? He's still the same guy. He's still just an athletic guy. He's on his toes. He's looking to move around the cage, looking to stab you, hit you with a couple big shots and back up, secure a takedown if they're there. There's nothing really changed. So, what's going to be different in this fight? It's not like these guys evolve so much from them. So I just kind of see more of the same here. Is Volkov live in this spot? 1,000%. He's 1,000%. He's just as live as anybody on this card. Especially if Ciryl Gane comes in the way he came in with John Jones. But I just think the athletic ability of Ciryl Gane is what's going to get it done. He's going to be able to get to these certain spots a little bit quicker than Volkov. Volkov might be like a step behind in some of his shots. I don't think Ciryl Gane is going to be dumb enough to get into a clinch position with him or anything like that, where Volkov can start delivering knees or doing what he does well. I think Ciryl Gane is going to keep his distance and just kind of pick and poke and prod at him at range. So I'm going to go Ciryl Gane by decision here. All right. Next one we're going to break. Last one we're going to break down here. And then if you want the rest of them, you can go to the madlabmma.com. We're going to be running some specials too for the end of the year. We've gave football away for free this year. Which I'm glad we did, but in hindsight, it was kind of like a mistake from a DFS standpoint. Our DFS product has been incredible. Wagers have been up and down. We have some guys that are doing super, super well, like Mikey Marangelli hit for another 7-8 units last week. And then, some guys aren't doing as well. So wagers are always up and down. But listen, we're transparent here. We're going to tell you the truth. We're not going to lie to you and be like, oh, my God, we're going to slay this card or we've been killing or crushing or murdering this. And then you sign up for the site and you're like, what the murdering what? Like, you just went down 50 units last week, with like a lot of the companies do. They lie to you on the front end. And then when you go there, you're like, wait a minute, I thought you guys were doing so well. And now I'm down 100 units. So we have some guys that are doing really well from the betting angle, and then we have some guys that aren't having the greatest season. It is what it is. It's a part of the product. But from a DFS standpoint from football, we have been, I got to be honest with you, I would put our product against anybody's. It's short, it's sweet, it's concise, and it's to the point, where you got these other companies that have 5 guys telling you 5 different informations, or 6 guys telling you 6. We have, Derek giving Contrarian Corner, which every week there's something that this kid slays. And look, I'm gonna prove it to you right now. I'm actually gonna open up his thing. Marvin Harrison, there you go. That was one of his favorite plays on the board. I love Marvin Harrison this week. The Vikings have allowed the most points to opposing wide receivers this season. He has a price point in the pivot. So this is a guy who, like I said, if you looked at Marvin Harrison, he had a really good game last week, and he hasn't done well all season. I don't know what the deal with Marvin Harrison's going on, but this is what I mean. Just from him alone, and that was just one of many of them on his board that I just picked out that he was super, super high on. Then we got the roster bully tool, which I mean that thing has been crushing. I've hit, this is the honest truth, because I've been posting about it. I hit in the last 4 weeks 3 multipliers with 2 entries a pop. So I'm basically putting in $57 or $54 because they're $27 a piece, single entry, and I'm winning 1,000. I almost won both of my lineups last week with 2,000. I missed by 0.25 or 0.27. So I would have, in the last 4 weeks, I pulled out $3,000 on $54. And that's just from using the Contrarian Corner with Eric and using the roster bully tool. So I mean, next year this product will not be free. There's just no way, no day that this product is going to be free. We gave it away free because we wanted our users to get an experience with it, but there's no way that it's going to be free this year. However, we're going to do a holiday special most likely where you're going to have the opportunity to get it free for the year once again until January 1st. And then after January 1st, then we're going to have a price on it, a normalized price on it. So, I haven't done the promo yet. Existing members will have the opportunity, obviously, to jump on that deal too. We'll make sure, even if you guys have memberships that are yearly or 6 months or whatever, we'll make sure that we'll lock you into it if you resubscribe. But for new people, you will pay for the product, but we will have a promo where if you do sign up, you will get it for free. But then after January 1st, as the year travels on, there's no way. I mean, there's just too much value on this product. This product, our DFS product for football, has done far exceeded my expectations this year, and that's the truth. So, all right. So back to the fight. I'll let you guys obviously know when the promo. If you guys haven't signed up for the email list, sign up. You go to the madlabmma.com, put your name in the email. It's free. We do something called the transparency report, where every week we tell you the truth on how we did. Unlike, like I said, a lot of companies, they don't. We do. We also throw a free pick in there a week for you, keep you in the loop with what we're doing for promos and stuff like that. So it's free, guys. Just put your email into the thing and get on the email list. All right, so last fight we're going to break down Kron Gracie and Bryce Mitchell. I think this is going to be a stinker of a fight. I don't know why it's on the main card. I know what people are thinking. Well, you got Bryce Mitchell, the kid who landed the twister, great grappler, very slick, no-gi grappler, against a decorated, accomplished lineage of Rickson Gracie, which is Kron Gracie. Great grappler in his own right, much more decorated. And you guys think you're going to get this grappling fest. You're not going to get a grappling fest. I'll tell you this right now. You're not getting a grappling fest. You're going to get a fight, if Bryce Mitchell is smart, that's going to stay on the feet. Kron Gracie has no striking. His striking is putrid. I can get my sister in the cage and probably show her 5 or 6 patterns and shapes in 2 hours, and she would look better than Kron Gracie when it comes to striking. That's how bad his striking is. His wrestling is not good. He can't get it to the ground. He's got a pull guard. You got to hope he falls on you. That you fall on top of him. He's got no ability. He was basically booed out of the arena, against Jourdain. He's just not a good MMA fighter. He's a good grappler, great grappler. he gets you to the ground and you're in trouble, but he's just not a good MMA fighter. Big difference. Bryce Mitchell is a good MMA fighter, decent grappler. You know, it's his strong suit, decent striker. All he has to do is keep this on the feet. He keeps this on the feet. If Kron Gracie beats him on the feet, like if this goes 15 minutes and Kron Gracie beats him on the feet, they should cut Bryce Mitchell. I'll say that ballpark. There's no way Kron Gracie should beat anybody on the feet. Anybody. So my prediction of this fight is going to be boring. It's going to be Bryce Mitchell staying on his feet, keeping Kron on his feet, kind of chewing him up, and that'll be that. I highly doubt this fight goes to the ground, unless Bryce Mitchell's dumb, or Kron Gracie really worked on his wrestling, which he would really need to work on his wrestling. Like, he's got like Ryan Hall wrestling. Like, he drops to the ground, he waits for you to jump into his guard. I don't think Bryce is going to do that. I don't think he's that dumb. So, prediction, boring fight, shouldn't be on the main card. Bryce Mitchell by decision. All right, that'll be it. If you guys want the entire write-up, madlabmma.com. Sign up for the email list. Follow us. Like the show. Subscribe to the show. I'm going to try to kick this cough for next week so you guys aren't so annoyed. And that'll be it. Enjoy the fights.